Macario Sakay de León was born on March 1, 1878, along Tarbora Street, Tondo, in the city of Manila. He first worked as an apprentice in a Kalisa, carriage manufacturing shop. He was also a tailor and a stage actor, performing in a number of plays including Príncipe Baldovino, Doce Pairs de Francia, and Amante de la Corona. An original member of the Katipunan movement, which he joined in 1894, he fought alongside Andrés Bonifacio against the Spanish throughout the Philippine Revolution. In 1899, he continued the struggle for Philippine independence against the United States. Early in the Philippine-American War, he was jailed for seditious activities, and later released as part of an amnesty. Sakay was one of the founders of the Partido Nacionalista, unrelated to the present Nacionalista Party founded in 1907, which sought to achieve Philippine independence through legal means. The party appealed to the Philippine Commission, but the Commission passed the sedition law, which prohibited any form of propaganda advocating independence. Sakay took up arms again, after the capture of Aguinaldo. Contrary to popular belief, the Philippine resistance to American rule did not end with the capture of General Emilio Aguinaldo. Several forces remained at large, including one led by Sakay. Sakay's rank and association within Aguinaldo's revolutionary government is unknown. When Aguinaldo surrendered to the US, Sakay seized the leadership of the revolution and declared himself Supreme President of the Tagalog Republic. He said this included all the islands of the Philippines from Luzon to Mindanao. Taking over the Morong Nueva Ecija command and assigning his deputies to take charge of the other Tagalog regions, Sakay wrote a constitution in which traitors, or supporters of the enemy, were to be punished with exile, imprisonment, or death. In May 1902, Sakay and his men declared open resistance to the US and conducted guerrilla raids that lasted for several years. Tagalog Republic. Around 1902, Sakay established the Tagalog Republic somewhere in the mountains of Rizal. His first military circulars and presidential orders as President and Commander-in-Chief were issued in 1903. Sakay's military circular No. 1 was dated May 5, 1903. And his Presidential Order No. 1 was dated March 18, 1903. Planned kidnapping. According to General León Villafuerte, his carry-ons and Sakay's forces planned to kidnap Alice Roosevelt Longworth, the daughter of President Theodore Roosevelt, who was planning to visit the Philippines. The plan was to trade her to the Americans in exchange for the immediate recognition of Philippine independence. The kidnapping was not attempted since Longworth postponed her trip by train to Baguio. Surrender and betrayal. In 1905, Filipino labor leader Dominador Gomez was authorized by Governor-General Henry Clay Ide to negotiate for the surrender of Sakay and his men. Gomez met with Sakay at his camp and argued that the establishment of a National Assembly was being held up by Sakay's intransigence, and that its establishment would be the first step toward Filipino independence. Sakay agreed to end his resistance on the condition that a general amnesty be granted to his men, that they be permitted to carry firearms, and that he and his officers be permitted to leave the country. Gomez assured Sakay that these conditions would be acceptable to the Americans, and Sakay's emissary, General León Villafuerte, obtained agreement to them from the American Governor-General. Sakay believed that the struggle had shifted to constitutional means, and that the establishment of the assembly was a means to win independence. As a result, he surrendered on July 14, 1906, descending from the mountains on the promise of an amnesty for him and his officials, and the formation of a Philippine assembly composed of Filipinos that would serve as the gate of freedom. With Villafuerte, Sakay traveled to Manila, where they were welcomed and invited to receptions and banquets. One invitation came from the constabulary chief, American Colonel Harry H. Bontholtz, to a party in Cavite hosted by the acting governor Colonel Louis J. Van Schaik on July 17. It was a trap. Sakay and his principal lieutenants were disarmed and arrested while the party was in progress. At his trial, Sakay was accused of banderismo under the Brigandage Act of November 12, 1902, which interpreted all acts of armed resistance to American rule as banditry. The American Colonial Supreme Court of the Philippines upheld the decision. Sakay was convicted and sentenced to death, and hanged on September 13, 1907. Before his death, he made the following statement: "Death comes to all of us sooner or later, so I will face the Lord Almighty calmly. But I want to tell you that we are not bandits and robbers, as the Americans have accused us, but members of the revolutionary force that defended our mother country, the Philippines. Farewell. Long live the Republic, and may our independence be born in the future. Long live the Philippines."